So there we were, Donna and me at this after-engagement party for Michael and his fiancée. Now, you gotta know, Michael's a buddy from way back, and even though I didn't really know the bride all that well, I figured, what the hell, let's celebrate love or whatever. The place was buzzing, and the music was so loud you could feel the bass in your bones. Donna and I were cutting loose on the dance floor, doing our thing. I noticed this woman, Karen, hanging around. She's related to the bride or something. Distant cousin, I don't know. But the thing about Karen was she was eyeing me up like I was the last piece of pizza at a frat party. Donna caught on real quick. She's always been sharp like that. She shot me this look like, you seen this? And we had a little chuckle. But Karen wasn't taking the hint. She sidles up, drink in hand, and starts with the pickup lines. You know, she slurs in some cultures. You can have 2 wives. Middle Eastern, right? I'm just staring at her, trying to figure out if she's serious or if the alcohol just hit her brain like a freight train. Lady, I'm happily married to 1. 2 would be pushing it, I said, thinking that would be the end of it. But Karen, oh man, she was on a mission. She downs her drink like it's water, winks at me, and stumbles away. I'm thinking, okay, dodge that bullet and go back to dancing with Donna. Fast forward a bit, and Kern's had a few more rounds. She's a hot mess, knocking into people, slurring words like she's speaking a different language. At this point, it's hard to tell if she's hitting on me or just trying to stay upright. Then it happens. Out of nowhere, Karen turns into a human fountain of vomit, and guess who's in the splash zone? Yours truly. I'm standing there, covered in God knows what, and Donna's jaw drops to the floor. What the F, lady? Get your crap together, Donna shouts over the music. Karen, instead of apologizing like any sane person, takes a swing at Donna. I'm not kidding. She throws a punch, misses by a mile, and ends up face-planting on the dance floor. It was like a scene from a bad movie. Security swoops in like superheroes and drags Karen away, while Donna and I are standing there, still processing what the hell just happened. Michael and his fiancée rush over, looking all apologetic. Sorry, man, we had no idea Karen would go off the rails like that, Michael says. I'm trying to play it cool, like it's all good. No worries, dude. Just another chapter in the book of wild parties. But inside, I'm thinking, who invites Karen to anything ever again? Donna's in full-on protective mode. I can't believe that crazy woman just ruined your shirt, she exclaims, pointing at the vomit masterpiece. I look down at my shirt, which now has abstract art courtesy of Karen. Well, there goes my favorite shirt, I mumble, trying to lighten the mood. We decide to shake it off, grab some drinks, and join the crowd. The night goes on, and we're having a blast despite the Karen incident. I'm getting sympathetic pats on the back, free drinks from folks who witnessed the spectacle, and Don's giving me this look like, we'll laugh about this later. Eventually, we find Michael and his fiancée again, and they're practically begging for forgiveness. Seriously, guys, we had no idea she'd pull a stunt like that. We'll make it up to you. Promise, Michael says, looking genuinely remorseful. Donna, always the diplomat, waves it off. Water under the bridge. Just keep Karen away from us and we're good. As the night winds down, we're on the dance floor again, laughing about the absurdity of it all. Donna leans in and says, imagine being so entitled that you throw up on someone and then throw a punch. Classic Karen move. And that's how we ended up with the tale of Karen, the party crasher who left her mark, quite literally, on what was supposed to be a chill engagement celebration. Life's funny, man. You never know when someone's going to go full Karen on you. But hey, at least I got a good story out of it and a ruined shirt as a souvenir. Cheers to wild parties and the characters who made them unforgettable. Okay, so just a little bit of info before I get into the story. 22 male, work construction and run a few crews, and I'm a foreman because I've been working in this field since I started working summers when I was 14. That's legal in my state. With this being said, I have a lot of experience and get paid really well. For my job, I need a truck that can pull a lot of trailers and also get into a lot of sketchy job sites, especially in the winter. So I drive a new lifted pickup, 350. Anyways, let's get into it. So about 4 months ago now, I got off work one day and just really didn't feel like making dinner, so I decided to go get myself the trusty Big Mac at McDonald's. Well, after I got my order, I was going to pull out into the parking lot to drive home, and I was looking hard over to my left to see how busy the road was before I got over there. Well, I wasn't paying great attention to what was happening in front of me, and then as I was creeping forward, Someone who was in front of me was stopped and not paying attention either. I ended up barely hitting his mirror and scraping his door with my front end. I immediately reversed and hopped out. I made sure the guy was okay and apologized, knowing it was my fault, and I asked him if he wanted to call the cops. "Let's call him Brent," Brent says. "Nah, bro, we are all good. If you just get me your insurance info, I think we can get this taken care of." I was fine with that, as there was no damage done to my truck, and it's not required to call the cops for an accident if it occurs in a private parking lot. This is relevant later. We exchange info, and he seems pretty cool, so I tell him to go get the damage bid and I'll just pay in cash so my insurance rates don't go up as long as he's okay with it. He says that's fine, and we both just leave, and I feel like a jerk, but all in all, Brent seems like a cool dude, and I just hope we can get it sorted out smoothly. About a month passes by, and I haven't heard anything from Brent or the shop I told him to go to. Honestly, I wasn't too stressed about this because if he decided to not get it done, that's on him. Well, he called me up one day at about noon saying he can't remember my name and he wanted to tell the guys at the shop who was the person who sent him there. I told him my name and the guys at the shop gave him a deal. He sends me the bid for damages and it comes out to $20. For, $3. This was more than I imagined, but I said to get it done and I'd take care of the bill afterward, and that was that. He hung up and said it was cool, and I went on with my day as usual. Another month goes by, and I don't hear anything until Brent calls me up while I'm at work again and says, "Hey, Brotha, I talked to the shop, and they said they can't get me in for another 2 weeks or so, and they may end up charging me more if they find more damage." I say, "Okay, sounds good, just let me know, man. I hope it goes smooth for you, and I'm sorry for the inconvenience." He seems to take it well, and I'm really trying to just be a good person. He responds with, "Well, after talking to my wife, I'm okay if you just wanted to write a check for $500 and we can call it even." This seemed odd to me because why the hell wouldn't someone want their vehicle repairs all paid for? I said, "Okay, man, let's set a time and place to meet and I'll get you paid." He liked the idea and ended the call by telling me he would let me know. Yet another month passes by and I hear nothing again. At this point, I'm getting fed up and just want this situation to stop being over my head. He hits me up at 11 p.m. one night and asks if we can meet in town. I found this kind of disrespectful because I was nearly asleep and had to be at work at 5 a.m. the next day. Either way, I said that was fine and took my $2,500 cash and wrote up a quick contract saying this payment would be accepted as payment in full for the damages, and by accepting it, it would release me from any and all liability. This was a pretty fair contract, I believe, as it was the deal we had already made over the phone, just in writing. I get to the place we suggested as a meetup spot, I give him the cash, and he signs the contract without hardly even reading it, and he didn't want the copy. This was a red flag to me, but I just assumed he really didn't care about it all that much, so I just sent him the photo of the contract and went back home for some beauty sleep. As you can guess by now, another month goes by with me just living life carefree and not worrying about this car accident anymore. Well, I go to check my mail, and I have a notice from this guy's lawyer that he is suing me for not paying after wrecking his car. This got me so mad, but I also knew I had plenty of text messages and a contract on my side. I immediately call Brent and he blocks my number. Luckily enough, my girlfriend works for a lawyer, so I get him updated and he says he'd love to help. He lets me know I saved myself by writing that contract, as any contract worth over $500 is to be held up in any level court in my state. I immediately get to work on my revenge. I remember on the side of this guy's car he had a business logo, and I took pictures of the damage. So I hop online and get to the BBB to look up who owns this company, thinking that surely he couldn't own the business because he is such an idiot. I was wrong. This guy owns the company, and I can see that he has about 12 one-star reviews, all in dispute because of his shady business practices, telling people it will cost one thing and then charging them 4 times what he said it would. Sounds familiar? Remember when he said the shop may charge more than the original $2,400? That's right. He was suing me for $10,000, 4 times what the shop told him it would cost. Unbelievable. He was trying his same sneaky crap on me. My lawyer takes note of this, and we show up to court ready for war. This guy is sleazy. As we get there and all set up, he says, "You ready to give me more of Daddy's money?" With a smirk. I guess it was just because I'm young and drive a nice truck and could afford $500. His lawyer gets up and starts trying to say nonsense about me hitting and running, and Brent barely got a picture of my license plate. So I try bullying him into taking a deal for only $2,500 when the damage was clearly more than that. There were obvious holes in his story, and he really didn't have much to say. Just imagine the smile on my face as my lawyer lays out the printouts of our text messages and the physical copy of the contract which was signed by Brent. His lawyer was ghostly white and looked sick. After laying out all of the evidence, my lawyer pulled out a little hidden gem, the printouts of all of the complaints we found on the BBB and how he was doing the same thing to me. That was the final nail in the coffin, as the judge said he had seen enough. He asked Brent for any final statements, and Brent said, "I don't even have the $2,500 anymore. Can I just get that then and we will be okay?" Literally admitting to the judge that he had received my money and his story was just a load of nonsense. I thought his lawyer was going to strangle him at this point. It was beautiful. The judge ended up ruling in my favor and demanded him to pay my legal fees as well as damages and lost wages because I had to miss work to be in court. The absolute sweetest part was that this particular day my crew was on a very high-wage job, and I was technically the one getting paid before I paid them out as subcontractors. This means I was to be paid $475 an hour, and this whole ordeal took about 5 hours. He ended up having to pay me almost $5,000. I don't think I've ever been so happy in my life. So while I was browsing through "I don't work here" lady stories, I took a trip down memory lane when my brother worked at a southern grocery store chain with green shirts and where shopping is a pleasure. My brother was a cashier. One of my brother's regulars was this elderly lady from Puerto Rico. She'd come by every Saturday to get her groceries. She didn't speak a word of English, but she was so endearing that my brother and his co-workers lovingly called her Abuelita. Even the managers called her that. It turns out her grandson was a fellow cashier, and for big holidays like Christmas, she'd send him in with enough homemade goodies like tamales and enchiladas for everyone. Just a real sweet lady. One Saturday evening, I got off work early and decided to get some last-minute things for a BBQ my brother and I were hosting. We were living together at the time. It was maybe an hour before closing, so the store is practically dead. I made the critical mistake of changing into a green shirt, but it was a much darker shade of green than the one the employees wear. I was getting flour when Abuelita, who I had met before on previous excursions, rolled up on her electric shopping cart and politely asked me, in Spanish, to reach something from the top shelf. I helped her, and she went on her way after thanking me. 5 minutes later, I was in front of the meat counter debating which briquette to get when I heard the cleared throat, the warning call of the wild Karen. I stepped aside thinking I was in her way. She cleared her throat again. I turned and looked to see someone who resembled a 250 lb version of Kate Gosselin, complete with the haircut. This was my fatal mistake. "Go to the back and get 5 nice strip steaks," she bellowed. Pardon," I asked, not quite registering what was going on. "Are you deaf?" She screamed so loud that my ears are ringing. "I said, get me 5 New York strip steaks." I'm sorry, but I don't work here," I said. "I can get someone to help you, though." "Don't be stupid. You helped that witch in the scooter, and you're wearing the shirt. You're just being lazy." I was done at this point and said, "Listen, lady, even if I did work here, what makes you think I would help you?" Karen raised her fat fist. And then it happened. Something hit the side of her head with a loud smack. Before landing by my feet, we looked down and see a flip-flop. All of a sudden, I hear raised voices in Spanish and turn to look. Abuelita was maybe 10 feet away, missing one flip-flop and holding her other flip-flop in her hand, winding up like she was an MLB pitcher. She was glaring at Mega Karen with black eyes and her mouth set in a firm line. Her grandson was running up to her, yelling at her in Spanish to put down the chancla. Cue Abuelita starting to cry and tell her grandson that she was only protecting the nice lady who had helped her, and that Mega Karen was going to hit me. Now, by this point, the manager is coming over, and Mega Karen must have realized she'd done goofed up. She pulled the quickest disappearing act I've ever seen. I returned Abuelita's flip-flop to her and thanked her. I also made sure the manager knew that Abuelita was trying to defend me. And that is the story of how a Mega Karen learned the terrifying power of Abuelita and La Chancla.